Welcome to this session. Now, we look at one more model given by Porter. This is called the firm's value chain. So, these are two important contributions given by Porter. One is with respect to the generic strategies and with respect to the value chain model. If you look at this model, what you are having on the x axis is the primary activities, the vertical axis is given by the support activities. So, when you are looking at the primary activities, it can be with respect to inbound logistics, that is raw materials, or it can be with respect to operations, that is machining, assembly, testing, or it can be with respect to outbound logistics, that is distribution, or marketing and sales. This can be with respect to advertisement, promotion, etc. And the last being with respect to services, installation, repair, etc. To do all these primary activities, you require a number of support activities also. What are the support activities? It can be with respect to procurement, that is purchasing of raw materials, machines, supplies. It can be with respect to technology development, that is R&D, process and product development, or it can be with respect to human resource management, that is recruitment, training, development, or it can be with reference to firm infrastructure, that is general management, accounting, finance, planning. So, in order to support the primary activities, a firm should have these support activities. Suppose you are able to provide all these activities at a cost, let us say x, you designated this cost x for all this, and you are able to provide this with at 0.8 x, let us say, that is the entire value chain. You have consumed instead of x for this 0.8 x. So, this 0.2 x will be the profit margin. So, you are able to provide all these support activities to the primary activities of the company and still able to save about 20%, which contributes to the profit margin. So, this is what the present day firms are really trying to find out, what is a method that they should adopt, whether they should price their services higher, especially the IT services, or whether they should resort to cost cutting exercises, so that the profit margin can increase. So, because if you really look at the IT industry, so there were reports saying that nearly 40% of this GDP with respect to the IT industry comes from Bangalore only in the country. So, that means to say it is a huge contribution which is coming from one city. So, and many refer to it as the Silicon Valley in India, all those types of things. Now, that brings you to one important question. So, in order to reduce this cost, you may adopt so many methods. So, if you look at the risks that are involved, that is, you must be able to manage these risks and still come out unscathed in the marketplace. So, what are the types of risks that you may encounter? The risks that you are likely to encounter with respect to cost leadership. This, if you just go to this slide, it tells you cost leadership is not sustained when competitors imitate. Suppose there is an imitation of your product possible by the competitor, then your leadership is not sustained. So, I was giving you the example of Gillette Mash 3, not able to imitate, that is a competitor. The result is leadership sustains. Then too many technology changes happening with respect to your product which you are not able to implement, then your leadership, that is a cost leadership, likely to get affected. The third one, other basis for the cost leadership erode. So, suppose the competitors are able to compete on the other basis of product differentiation which you are giving and able to give them at a comparatively lower rate, then what is likely to happen? The proximity in differentiation is lost. So, suppose you come to the differentiation strategy, differentiation is not sustained when again competitors imitate, basis for differentiation become less important to buyers. Suppose a buyer thinks there is not much to choose between A and B. So, this is what is happening with respect to so many service providers. It was happening with respect to mobile service providers for a very long time, till this player Jio came into the marketplace and offered its services at a much lower price compared to the other place. The cost leadership of the other players eroded. So, the Jio's market base went up like a rocket in the Indian market. So, if you see almost all the people, the market, Indian market is almost getting choked through Jio. So, the player who is very close, who is giving us a fight in inverted commas to Jio, not the other players which you were mentioning earlier like Vodafone, Spy, they are all nowhere in this thing. The only player which is giving the fight to Jio or competition to Jio is Airtel, but really not able to dislodge Jio from the market leader's place. So, the risks of focus could be the focus strategy is imitated. Suppose your focus strategy is imitated. This is what so many service providers are trying to do with respect to the leader. They are saying we are able to provide these services at a much lower price. Then the largest segment becomes structurally unattractive. So, the structure erodes, the demand disappears. What is likely to happen? Broadly targeted companies overwhelm the segment, the segment's differences from other segments narrow, the advantage of a broad line increase. This is the type of thing which can happen with respect to generic strategies of Porter. That is this is what is called risk analysis, which a company should do, essentially do, with respect to all these strategies given by Porter, the generic strategies, the three of them, that is the cost leadership, differentiation and focus. That actually brings you to one important aspect, that is the quality of the product or the service which you are putting out into the market. What should characterize the quality of the product, or what should be the dimensions of quality? So, the dimensions of quality of the product are given in this particular slide here, and it is also available to you in this book on strategic management. So, these are called the 8 dimensions of quality. The 8 dimensions of quality are given under these heads. One is with respect to performance of the product. So, if you really look at this book in its strategy formulation, that is on page number 121, gives you the 8 dimensions of quality, again given here summarized. One is performance, that is the primary operating characteristics, such as washing machines cleaning ability, a washing machine's cleaning ability. Suppose in the Indian context, let us say you want to go in for a washing machine. So, maybe due to so many reasons, maybe the housewife might say that yours is the only house which is not having a washing machine, all the other neighbors are having washing machines. Or she might give you so many other reasons. I find it difficult to wash so many clothes every day. The maid servant is refusing to wash, all those types of things. So, ultimately you may make a decision, okay, let me go in for a washing machine. Your decision may be more guided by the fact that the washing machine that you want to purchase should be very close to a hand wash. So, it should not be looking like a machine wash, but it might be looking like it might be very close to a hand wash. So, some of the entrants in the market came out with their product saying that it is very close to the hand wash. No other manufacturer gives you this type of washing machine which is very close to the hand wash. So, this is where you said the primary operating characteristic. So, this is the differentiating factor, cleaning ability with respect. Then the second one is features, bells and whistles like cruise control in a car that supplements the basic functions. So, if you go to any advanced model of the car in the present day Indian context, it gives you this feature cruise. What is this cruise? Suppose you are going on a highway and you want to maintain that speed maybe 60, 70 or 80. So, you put this cruise feature on, you can drive this car or the car drives itself at this speed where you fixed, whether it is 60, 70 or 80 kilometers per hour, and it keeps on going at that speed till you apply your brakes, then the cruise function gets switched off and you come back to the manual mode where you control this thing, your speed. Then the third characteristics or the dimensions of quality is what is called reliability. What is reliability? Reliability is probability that the product will continue functioning without any significant maintenance. So, this is what is important with respect to any consumer durable. So, you must be able to function, that is your product must be able to function without too much of this maintenance. Okay. Every day there should not be a problem. So, let us say this washing machine, every day it gives you a lot of sound, and when it is going to that function of drying, let us say, it gives you so much of noise, makes so much of noise, let us say dud 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 and all that you may. So, many times this is happening with respect to many of the brands of washing machines, where the housewife rushes to the washing machine thinking that something has gone totally wrong. No, it is the what do you call the features of the product, that is the reliability of the product is being called into question. So, the drying function is not happening without noise, too much of noise. So, others might also give you noise. So, for example, some of these newer brands of washing machines which are coming out, say especially this LG automatic and all, even when it is going to the drying function, you find that the noise that is being emanating from this machine is very less. Similarly, the IFB, all those types of things. So, in other words, these types of well established brands in the marketplace, they will be able to perform reliably, that is without significant maintenance. The newer entrants, many times you may have to call the service person from the company saying that, hey, I see something is happening to this washing machine, find out whether it is really working or gone. So, whether the belt has gone or the drum has gone, where what is the problem, all those types of things. Then the fourth characteristic or the dimension of quality is what is called the conformance, that is the degree to which a product meets standards. When a customer buys a product out of a warehouse, it will perform identically to that viewed on the shop room floor. Again, none better than an automobile. So, you see on the floor of the showroom, he gives you so many these things saying that this performs like this all, but when you take it out to the road, you find that many of the things which he claimed are not really there. So, this is happening on a routine basis to the American automobile industry. Now, it is happening to the Indian automobile industry also. The fifth dimension is what is called the durability, number of years of service a consumer can expect from a product before it significantly deteriorates. So, how does it differ from reliability? Differs from reliability in that a product can be durable, but still needs lot of maintenance. So, reliability does not have significant maintenance. Durability, product might be durable, but with maintenance. So, this is where the differentiation comes. A product might be durable, but not reliable. So, this is what is happening in most of the cases also. So, working with lot of maintenance. Serviceability, products ease of repair. So, in the present day context, let us say if you really see the present day wheels with respect to automobile, take the any well known brand. Suppose what do you call, almost all the brands which are coming in come with what is called the tubeless tires. So, earlier there used to be a tube, and the tube will take the air pressure, that is, you fill the tube with air pressure, and then suppose there is a puncture, this tube had to be taken out from the tire, and the nail had to be removed both from the tube as well as from the tire, all those types of things. What is in the present day context? In the present day context, there is a tube which is almost attached to the tire. So, when he is putting puncture, that is, your wheel is getting punctured, you are not going through the same motions as you used to do earlier. So, this is a type of thing which is coming in. So, the ease of putting puncture with respect to the modern day car, let us say, is can be a good example of this serviceability. Then aesthetic, how a product looks, feels, sounds, tastes or smells. No better example than the different brands of cars coming out in the Indian market. So, name it, you have it. Okay. Then perceived quality, products overall reputation, especially important if there are no objective easily used measures of quality. So, suppose you are not having this what do you call measures of quality, well established measures of quality, which suppose you are not able to apply to a product, then the consumer's perceived quality comes into play. He may say go in for this product instead of the other product. So, his value decision becomes a pointer for you, an yardstick for you. So, this is what characterizes the 8 dimensions of quality. This is given on page number 121 in this book on strategic management, and one exhibit, that is on page number 120, tells you with respect to the focus strategy at Morgan Motor Company. Okay. So, this is something which actually is a real life case. You can read that. When you read that, you will find that this Morgan Motor Company makes 3 models ranging in price from $35,000 to $50,000. It has no long term debt and enjoys steady growth in sales and profits. Sports cars with reputations comparable to those of the Morgan sell for 150,000 and upwards. That is, Morgan is able to give you that sports car at 1/3 of the other players. For the person who needs a personalized car, Morgan is available in 35,000 hand painted colors. The company employs just enough skilled workers to build 10 cars a week for an annual capacity of fewer than 500 cars. Because the company receives about 600 to 800 new orders each year, the current waiting list for a new Morgan is about 2500 to 5000 cars, that is about 10 years production. The firm's response to a rapidly changing automobile industry seems perfectly tuned to staying in the propitious niche, that is a niche market. According to Charles Morgan, grandson of the founder, we believe the Morgan policy of gradual and carefully considered change will enable us to maintain the car's qualities and unique appeal and thereby ensure its survival for the foreseeable future. It's a very good case study in this type of generic strategies which has happened in the automobile industry. Okay. We stop here. We will continue in the next class where we will look at the key factors for success. So, what are the key factors for success in an organization, and then come back to the IFAs, that is the strengths and weaknesses of an organization, come to draw the IFAs matrix. After we complete the IFAs matrix, we will look at a few case studies. Okay, we will stop here. We will continue in the next session. Thank you.